Thank you everyone for joining. Joshua, I can see you. Maureen David was our first participant today. Thank you. Nona Awo, Celestina, thank you for joining. Can you please put in the chat box where you're joining us from with your name? Excuse me. Thank you, Nona, for joining us from Lagos. Shola Yeni, thank you for joining. I hope your sweetheart is beside you. Pastor Tunji Sule, I hope your wife is beside you. It's a special program for all young couples. I hope your wife is beside you. Please put in the chat box where you're joining us from. Dami, I can see you. Thank you. In spite of your busy schedule, I see you joining. You're not going to regret. You're going to enjoy the session. Okay, she's beside you, Shola. That's great. Okay, well, 1 minute. Yes. Oh, Joshua is in Benin today. Great. Yes, Dami is in Lagos. Excuse me. Okay, Tosin K is joining us from Ontario. Thank you. We're going to start because I have so many questions for my guests today. And it's going to get exciting because we're going to talk about money. We'll talk about love. We'll talk about faith. So there's so many questions. So I think we should start right now. I'm sure most of you who registered would have received our email with the profiles of the guests. But while we're waiting for more people to join us, I just want to tell you a little bit about the couple. So like I said, you're going to get a little bit of faith, finance, and love. Now, Mr. Kunle-Osunkunle serves as the head corporate banking at FSDH Merchant Bank Limited. He started his professional journey with the institutional banking group of Merchant Banking Corporation, now First Bank, before joining FSDH. His expertise spans risk management, investment banking, and corporate banking. He is a graduate of management and accounting from the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. He holds an MBA from the esteemed Pan-Atlantic University. He's an associate of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and has enriched his knowledge through various local and international courses. And the bonus for us today, he is a president of the Singles Fellowship of the Fountain of Life Church in Ilupeju, Lagos, Nigeria. He's passionate about helping singles make the right choices in relationships. And when he's not doing banking and when he's not being a pastor, he loves reading, cycling, and nurturing his passion for youth development. Now, his better half, his sweetheart, is for the fashionable ladies in Lagos. Most of us know her. And she's my namesake, Mrs. Abimbola Kunle-Osunkunle. She is a talented jewelry designer. She's an entrepreneur. And she is a founder and creative director of Cornucopia, a premium handcrafted jewelry brand based in Lagos. And like I said, if you're a society lady in Lagos, you would have used her product or you would have been saving towards using her product. She has a B.Sc in economics from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And after beginning her career in banking, she also was a banker like her husband. She pursued her passion for design and jewelry making. She earned her Accredited Jewelry Professional certification from the Gemological Institute of America. Abimbola's business began over 17 years ago, so she's been an entrepreneur for 17 years. And she has since grown to become a leading homegrown brand, catering to a diverse and upscale clientele both in Nigeria and abroad. She's passionate about helping creative women grow and has created 2 online courses, Make Jewelry Like a Pro and From Creativity to Profit. She also has an in-person workshop called Learn Jewelry, all of which teach beaded jewelry techniques and equip designers and makers with the skills to build a thriving handmade jewelry business. With her expertise and dedication, Abimbola Kunle-Osunkunle has become a respected figure in the Nigerian jewelry industry and an inspiration to creative entrepreneurs. In addition to this, Abimbola enjoys working with children and young people to build their confidence and stay anchored in an ever-changing world. Of course, she's married to her sweetheart, Olukunle, and they have 3 beautiful children. Thank you, Pastor and Mrs. Thank you, brother and sister. I mean, there's so many things I can call you both.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so honored.
It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm so honored to have you both. And my friends around the call, I think we're 18 now around the call. I know they are going to gain a lot. First, because you're a finance person by background and your wife is an entrepreneur. There's so many lessons to learn from an entrepreneur. And then you both love Christ. Some of my friends around the call are also Christians. And I know you love yourselves. Allow me to boast in that. So yeah, so we're going to go straight into the questions because I do have a lot. And one of the things that this platform does is to help people be financially fit, take wise money decisions and actions, and plan towards financial freedom. Now, some of the questions that I would ask will border on love, will border on faith, will border on how you do money in your relationship. I would also ask you questions about planning for the future, because I know you're a big man in FSDH today. After FSDH, what next? Madam owns a business. At some point, she wants to become a grandmother. So what's the future? So we're going to talk about retirement planning as well. We will talk about money mistakes. And I will share some, some mistakes that I think that people make. So people around the call, I want you to have an open mind. Just say to yourself that sorry, I have a bad cold. Just say to yourself that if you're going to gain, you would get something either from the money perspective, from the faith perspective, or from the relationship perspective. I'll go straight into the questions because I wouldn't want to keep my attendees for too long. Yeah, so this is a special program for Valentine. February is the month of love. And I want to ask you some soft questions, some icebreakers. I see all your beautiful pictures online. And ladies and gentlemen around the call, I'm just so excited that, with one request, they both squeezed out the time to make themselves available for this conversation. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much. Now, how did you both meet?
How did we meet? Okay, let me tell the story.
Please do.
So remember, my profile says that I used to work in a bank. So we met, I was serving, and he just got transferred to the branch where I was serving. And that's what we met, in a nutshell.
So, but before then, we actually knew each other.
Oh, yeah, we went same secondary school.
We went same secondary school.
Oh.
She was 2 years my junior, but we were not friends.
Yeah.
So we both were working in this organization, and for us, I guess after a while, it was, oh, this person has I mean, we share common values and all that. And it was a friendship that just developed while we were both working together. And I mean, down the line, we just thought, well, this may be a good opportunity to take it further. And that's what happened.
Praise God. That's nice to hear. But you were not at any point her school father.
No.
We were not friends at all.
We were not friends at all.
I don't use face.
I think I can't remember what's that gentleman's name now. It's Fela's grandson that married recently and said he was his wife's school father.
Oh, really? How interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. So you had I would say that Kunle, you had your list of qualities that you wanted in your wife. So in spite of having known her from school, when you started working together, you then saw that the qualities that you wanted in your life partner were in her, and then you made the move. Or did Madam make the move?
Make that move. So I guess over yes, I made the move. I guess okay. So because we're also talking faith here, so one of the things that happened was that we were working in that organization and all that. And a few months down the line, she said there was one day I entered the office and it was felt a sharp
just a tingle.
You're frozen.
And what came to her mind?
We missed that because you were a bit frozen.
This guy may be. He doesn't even have more of the physical qualities that I wanted. I wanted a tall guy, a taller guy.
A taller guy, yeah.
And I wanted somebody who was dark in complexion and all that.
So they were vain, they were pretty vain, but they were
and he just said, I don't even like him like that.
Way, but we were good friends.
But we were good friends. But I mean, later on, there's a story I tell. December of that year, I came into the office in the afternoon. I was wearing a striped checkered baby blue shirt with a yellow tie, with my sleeves rolled up. And she said she just looked at me and says, "Wow, he's got lovely arms, Sha." And I think that started kind of doing it for her, you know. But you know, going to some of those qualities, I just also needed somebody who was not, you know, sometimes who was not a troublemaker, somebody who was focused, somebody who loved God, and those things for me were important. Now and somebody who both of us, I mean, could gist, could be so much friends. And when I look back today, I think the friendship has developed so badly. Not badly in a good way, so well that you know, she's just, if there's something like bestest of friends, you understand, that for me is what I think we are. And when sometimes the children look at us and like, oh geez, really.
Yeah, I loved seeing your pictures, from the pictures on your page, I think more of your page than Madam's page. I see that you're friends. I'm going to have to bring you back, Okunle, to talk just pure faith, because if I continue in the trajectory that I want to, I will just forget that I'm a finance coach today. But I'm in the response that you both have given on how you met, I want you to put on your pastoral cap right away, Kunle, and tell us, because my friends around the call, I can see them, they're very young people. And some of us that are older, we have young people that we mentor. Please tell us what a young person should focus on when choosing a life partner.
I think that when a young person wants to, let me talk from my experience. I remember that one of the first, before I started, dating my husband, or even I remember having, should I say, a conversation with myself and thinking, that that a man wouldn't complete you. So before you even meet anyone, I think that it's important to find, should I say, completeness in yourself. Don't look for someone to complete you. You're complete in God. So if you're looking for someone to plug a hole, I think that in itself may be problematic. So you need to work on that. That's one. But what I would say in terms of the kind of person I was looking for and what I believe young people should look for is, don't remember at the beginning of our story, we talked about how I was looking for someone tall and dark because my brothers are tall and dark. My older brother, whom I admire a lot, is tall and dark. So I think, so I guess I was looking, maybe that was my thought. But so it's important to find the person attractive, but sometimes those checklists of physical attributes may be a stumbling block sometimes. So don't get stumped on those things, right? So that's one. But beyond that, look for someone that you resonate with each other, that you can talk to. Look for someone that you share very similar values. Values are important because when you do life together, you find that then you will have to make decisions, you will have to do things together. And when you don't share similar values, then you'll be at odds with each other at some point. Then having the same faith as well, that comes under values. But having a similar background is good as well, and that informs values.
Yeah, so I'll just add, because there's a lot of Hollywood, Nollywood determined, things now, because we're all product of our environment or product of influence. We should be careful where those influences are coming from. There's something I usually say, that love is not a feeling you feel when you feel a feeling you have never felt before. Love is not a feeling you feel when you feel a feeling you've never felt before. Love is a decision. And if you're going to make a decision, you understand, you must have the right information. And that right information must be from you and from that person. Sit down and say, what have I gone through in life? What has shaped my thinking about marriage, about falling in love? Because wrong things may have shaped it, i.e., maybe your parents, the people around you, your upbringing, and all that. And sit down and say, what exactly do I want out of marriage? And when you start to do that, then you can start to say, okay, this is where I see myself. Now, the second thing I want to say is about, we all sit down and write down the specs that we want in a person. You understand? We should be careful of some of these specs. The qualities that you are asking for in someone, you must have it yourself. You understand? So if you write down all these specs, you must have it yourself. Then be careful of some of these physical specs that we talk about, because there are things just in your head that you've seen in movies, you understand? So, but when you do that, you will realize that it's easier. You've cleared your mind of various cobwebs, and you can take a decision right. And as people of faith, what also happens is that you now ask the Holy Spirit, who gives you the advantage, to say, Holy Spirit, God, I want you to help me in taking these steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunle. I'm just thank you, Mrs. Onisiri. I know you just have to go to Kunle's page too. They don't need to tell you. You know they're in love. Mrs. Onisiri says real love is a commitment, which I can dissect from the conversation. So she can see the body language already. Thank you very much. I need to rush because I have so many questions. Is love blind, Kunle?
Well, it depends. It depends on how we see these things. Like they say, love is blind, marriage is an eye opener. And you know, marriage is an eye-opener. So the thing is this about when people say love is blind, it's important that when we are taking a decision, our eyes are opened. You know, and I'll take it back to scripture. When God said it is not good for man to be alone, that he needs someone, and he put him to sleep. When God put Adam to sleep, what did he do? He took out his rib and formed the woman. But Adam had to wake up and name the woman, oh, this is the bone of my bone, the flesh of my bone. His eyes were wide open when he took that decision. So it's important that your eyes are wide open when you take a decision. You understand me? Don't just follow blindly and say, well, this person is what I use. This person is doing me kiss. The thing is that we all have butterflies in our stomach and all those things, and we do not take enough time to check that relationship, whether it's going somewhere. Then we make quick and permanent decisions and say, I love you and all that. So that is one side. The other side of love is blind is that there are sometimes that when you are in a relationship, there are a number of things you need to close your eyes to. You understand? Because you love the person. I am of the view, this is my own view, that 80% of what couples argue about in relationships are non-issues, you know? And I've always said something, your marriage or your relationship is much more important than your ego, you know? So it's so important, so it's so important that there are things that you close your eyes to. There are things that, you know, sometimes maybe my wife and I are talking, maybe she raises her voice. Honestly, I don't think she intends to disrespect and all that.
Yeah.
So I say, and you shouted at me. I just say so, you shouted at me. I say, you shouted upon me now. And you say, okay, I'm sorry. That's love is blind, because, you know, the Bible says love covers a multitude of sin. You know, so you can look at
two sides of a coin. Two sides of a coin. So we take marriage decisions with a consciousness that it's a life game. Like the analogy you gave, so we open our eyes when we're choosing, and we don't choose based on the butterflies in the tummy or the height of the man or the woman. And then on the other side, love is blind to the weaknesses of your partner. Thank you very much. Yes, please put your comments in the comments in the chat box. If any question I ask my guests, if you have an opinion about it, please put your comments, excuse me, in the chat box. Now, this question is for Madam. You know, one of the popular churches recently opened a Christian dating site. Christian dating site, like where Christians meet themselves online. And your husband can help you, but it's your question.
Oh, that's fine.
Is this a good way to meet partners? Are there dangers? Are there benefits of this Christian dating site?
I think definitely, I would say there's nothing wrong with dating sites, Christian or not, because we live in an online world. We live in a virtual world. So you can't take away, even romance is affected by the fact that we now live in a connected world. So people now meet, so now to a Christian online dating site, definitely there's nothing wrong with it. And I do believe people can meet there. However, the rules of real life, you know, apply there as well. So even though you may have met someone online, you still have to do your due diligence. You still have to meet them in real life. You still have to find out if, you know, all those things Kunle said earlier about, you know, determining whether someone is right for you. And I said as well, someone is right for you or not. You still have to do that hard work. even if you meet someone online, even more so.
So I would say that when you bring it from online, you must bring it to, is it offline?
Yes.
You understand? And the reason is this: you're not going to have an online marriage or online relationship.
Online in love, like you say.
You're not going to have online children, online romance. Do you understand? And and what happens is that one of the things why people need to bring things offline is issues around conversations, communication. You know, they've said that 56% of communication is body language. Only maybe about 4% is what you see. There's body language, there's tone, there's what you actually say. So the Yoruba say, you understand, which means that I can say, I'm sorry. And I mean it. And I can say, I'm sorry.
You
It's
know,
the same thing I've said, but the communication is different. So you need to bring people offline so that you can see their body language. You can, there's so many things that you have to do. So bring it from online to offline also.
Right. Thank you very much.
And you asked, are we stuck?
No, you're on.
No, we're not.
You're on. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and you asked if there are dangers. Yes, there are dangers
and benefits.
Because the picture you see, and there are benefits. So the picture you see there may not be the person's picture. The person may be a troller. The person may be, so many things. So you have to do your due diligence. And the benefits is that you will probably have more people. It's a busy environment these days. Things are really busy. So sometimes when people sit across online and all that, it's easy to connect to people.
Thank you very much. And I'm still on the love matter, but I'm going to wrap it up now. Someone says Ojuni Orowa. I'm going to wrap the Valentine and love session quickly. But I know you're both devoted Christians. You both worship at Fountain of Life, and Kunle is a pastor with Fountain of Life. Valentine. What do you think about Valentine? Is there a place for Valentine in the church? What's your take? And it's your opinion, really. It's not there's no wrong or right answer. Whatever you choose, you explain it to me.
Oh yes, nothing too deep. Just celebrate it. But for us personally, it's not wrong for you to. Yeah. It's not wrong for you to celebrate Valentine. It's nice. It's fun. So why not?
Yeah, it's fun. But for us, really, rarely do we
confession.
Somebody asked me
a Valentine card or gift, but
can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, but sometimes it freezes, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you now. You were a bit frozen, but I can hear you now.
Yeah, so I was saying that it's not bad. You understand? It's a day of sharing love and all that. So really, I don't think it's that deep. For us,
another opportunity to appreciate your partner, right?
Correct. But one of the things I tell people though is one of the things we tell people is 365 days of the year should be your Valentine. Appreciate yourselves on a basis.
Continuous basis.
When Valentine comes, it's not just a special day because every day is already a special day.
Special day. Thank you. Let's go quickly to money. You're frozen, but I think I can hear you. Let's go quickly to money.
Okay.
Now the question I have for you is your now. And I do counsel, I used to actively counsel intending couples, young people about to marry. And it was my assignment in the church to teach them about money. I attend the Redeemed Christian Church of God, and there's a manual, and the manual, the section that talks about money. So that's what that was my core area, to take intending couples. Now, I want to ask you two questions. One is, before you got married, did you have a deliberate or intentional conversation around money? And then the second question is, for now, now that you have the kids, they're all grown up, you know, one in the uni and all of that, how deliberately do you set out time to talk about money? And my friends around the call, one of the things I did was to make sure that the young couples that are my friends and mentees, I told them to join this conversation because of this kind of question. So did you, and you know, it's okay if you never talked about money before you got married, but did you have that conversation? And did you have conversations about money?
Before we got married, we didn't sit down one day and have a formal conversation about money. But I would say that, you know, because we worked so closely with each other for quite a while, we kind of got to know each other very well. And you know, sometimes it's not just in what you say, it's also how you see the person. So in terms of how each other, should I say, deal with money, or that made a difference. I'll probably tell the story, and I would like him to tell that story where.
Okay, yeah. So, like you said, I think for us over that period, we started talking about the future. We started talking about, and there was things we didn't think were issues. You understand, because of how we saw each other deal with those things. So, for instance, issues around spending, issues around giving. And I tell a story about how there was a week I was visiting her, and I said, wow, man, I think I'm broke. I didn't have enough money. And that
Well, this was when we're dating.
This was when we're dating and all that. And I had left. And the next day, which was a Monday, I get to my reception, said somebody was looking for me. She sent the dispatch to give me an envelope. When I opened the envelope, this was year 2000 or 2001. It was 2,000 naira. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
When money was money.
that was really touching. And I tell people she's still enjoying the benefit of the 2,000 naira till today. You understand? And for me, it just showed for me somebody who will not hold on to money if there were challenges, you understand, in dealing with those things. Now, I don't know whether I should continue. Yeah. So when we got married, and you just give me some time of this. When we got married, we started to share our money. We started to have our money together. Now, we did not have a joint account, but we had a joint, what did we call that thing?
Joint finance.
We had joint finances. You open a joint account, but we had joint finance. Was that she of everything I earned, I was well aware of everything she earned. There was no, and I remember in those days was that, oh, Kunle, you are much better at she had money she wanted to invest it, Kunle, just take. You understand? And one of the things we used to do was keep our money. For instance, when we drew money, there were no ATM cards and all that. We would put it in the same drawer. You understand? And we would start spending. We'll start spending from there. You know, so those are the kind of things we did. And we also knew that there were things in the future that we wanted to do. So we started putting money aside. Now, one thing that I would say here is that I think we oversaved and didn't enjoy life at some point. And that's one of the things you know, sometimes you're just saving and saving and saving and saving and saving and saving. And there are times in which, you know what, just relax. Maybe we needed to buy a water heater or something like that. Say, we can't afford water heater now. We won't buy it, we'll be boiling water. Do you understand? So those are the ways, kind of things we did.
Yeah, what I was trying to bring out with that question is the importance of young people having money conversations before settling into marriage. I think I didn't have a money conversation with my husband. And I was the first daughter, and my father went all out to do wedding. You know how it is when My husband also went all out. And after the wedding, we were driving back to Lagos and we looked at ourselves and said, what was all that about? Okay. And so when young people come to me now and they want to get married, I always tell them to make sure that they are not getting married on the terms of other people. Okay. Like you said, they should look forward. So if any the people around the call want to take anything from this question that I've asked you both, it is important that people have money conversations before they settle down. For one, you're able to set a budget on what level you want to, have the wedding at. You don't want to go all out and stretch yourself because some people expect as the first daughter or the Lady of Ekiti should be there, It must be a budget, okay? And it also helps you to think into the future. I've counseled couples where a young lady said, look, mommy, he doesn't know anything about money and I see his ATM card. I love such conversations. So they're beginning to think of their future before they make mistakes. There's an intentional direction of their finances. And I do like what you said. I had never heard that before, but something to explore, like joint finances versus joint accounts. And I will come back to that later. Now, talking about now.
Sorry, just a second. I wanted to say that, this issue about money conversation doesn't even stop at issues about how we spend. You said you're a first daughter. There are people who have responsibilities for their younger brothers.
Absolutely, exactly.
For their younger siblings.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
There are people who have, maybe a sick parent. You understand? All those things should come into your money conversations.
Absolutely.
You understand? Because you get married and this guy or this lady says, I have to send this money to my mother weekly, or I have to send my siblings to school. There's a way it impacts your family. I always say something. When we were growing up, in my home, we had 8 people living with us that my parents were sending to school and all those things. Yeah, I understand, but I knew the kind of impact it had on their finances. Yes, it was love and all that they did, but I'm sure it's also impacted their finances. So these conversations are things that can, if you don't have them, can break down your relationship when you get married.
Yes.
Pressure.
Thank you so much, Pastor Kunle. Thank you so much. So you must understand the financial pressures and obligations of your partner. Is very important, and that way you can set financial goals that align with the situation and circumstances of both parties. So yes, thank you very much for putting that in. Quickly, financial goals. I know you talk about money because you said you have joint finances, some people call it joint projects. They have project accounts. So it's not an account in anybody's name, but it's just, dedicated to family projects. Do you set out at the beginning of the year and say, sweetheart, this is what we have to achieve this year? Do you intentionally set financial goals? There's no right or wrong answer. We just have to.
Well, okay, so not exactly, but one of the things we know is that, there are some projects and all those things that we think we want to achieve. And let me give you an example. At some point during our relationship, we knew we had to buy a house. You understand? And I think that was one of the most difficult thing we've ever done. Because someone told me once that if you're going to buy a house, buy something bigger than where you are. Because you are going to grow into it. If you buy what you are in now, and I kind of took that, so we were kind of saving, you understand, put things aside just for that project. Another project would be, we want our children to go to these kinds of institutions and all that. And so over time, you have, that is a goal for us. And therefore you plan towards the achievement of those goals. So those are the kind of things we do. It's not typically at the end of each year, these financial goals and all that. So that's what we do.
I do think though that I'm kind of going to loop this question with like the last one. In today's world, the awareness of financial, setting goals about finances and co is much more than 20
what it used to be
when we got what it used to be. So young people, and there's so many tools available as well. So I believe that young people today have an amazing opportunity that I don't want to say in our generation, like that old, they have a great opportunity which they should seize. There's a lot more self-awareness and all that. So that's just very important. But something I wanted to.
And secondly, also, the harder things become, you understand, the more you need to look at those goals and finances a bit more critically. You understand? Both, they say the reason money comes and money goes, that's why it's called cash flow. Yeah, so it's flowing. So you need to, what you want is that you want the inflow to be more than the outflow. You understand? So sometimes, and in this season, things that, really, we know what's going on. Even we, in this season, with all the things you've done in the past, you are reconsidering some of those, your financial goals, and say, how do we do it properly? Because you have to be looking towards, okay, we've sent our kids to school and all that. And when we retire, what happens?
Yeah, I hear you very well. And I hope the people around the call are listening carefully. Madam said, the opportunities that we have now, or that people have now, is I didn't even have a marriage counseling class like I teach people, So they are positioned to do things better. The tech world, when I first started having kids and I would budget, I would use an exercise book. Things are different now. There are different apps to do that. I need to take a break with my voice, but I have friends around the call. Someone is going to ask a question now. Dorcas has 2 questions to ask. Please unmute yourself and ask Dorcas.
Okay, ma. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Osunkunle. My first question is that, given your roles as parents, how do you teach your children about money, incorporating financial literacy?
Okay.
And the second question?
Okay, the second question is, in the course of your marriage, how have you approached and resolved financial disagreements?
Sorry?
How have you approached financial disagreements?
Yes.
Okay then, thank you. So regarding teaching our children about money, about finances, one thing that you must, whatever it is you want to teach your children, there are the things you say and the things you do. So a key thing that we do is modeling. So in the way we live, our children see our financial, how we think about money. But then we also have conversations even in terms of, let me give an example. So we go to the store and someone picks this up and says, oh, brings it from some aisle and says, buy this for me. So we say things like, oh, how much is it? And then the child doesn't know how much it is. You're like, okay.
Never in your life keep up something from the...
This thing has a value.
You don't know the price.
You know that you don't know the price. So we have those conversations in terms of, we don't sit down again and say and have formal conversations about money. And that would be a great thing to do. But in the living of life and in daily conversations, we do that. And of course, our children are growing older. So for example, our older son is in university. We're having conversations. Okay, so what are you doing? How are you budgeting your money? Giving him tips on savings, investments, because sometimes maybe he has extra cash, someone gifted him money, and even working, because you can't just working, because when a child works, they understand the value of money.
I think that's one of the things we do, and you would start to see how they understand the value of money. We have one of our children who has so now understood the value of money, that when the child, I don't want to give away, when the child starts to tell you what they want to become, how they want to spend their money. Recently, this child called me and said,
what are you doing about the Nigerian?
What are you doing about the Nigerian situation? What are you doing about the exchange rate?
What are your plans?
What are your plans with family and all that?
Is what your first son asked you?
No,
okay.
Actually, it's our daughter. Actually, it's our daughter.
Okay.
You understand? For me, that was very encouraging, because it meant that, you know, you were not just going out and all that. And the other time, my son, who is in school abroad, said something that they are always very careful in spending their money, because they know how hard it is over there, you understand, in getting that money to them. And I was still telling Bimbo earlier today that, do you realize that maybe since the beginning of the year, we're actually not giving him pocket money, and that's because he's working and he's not asked us. You understand? So he's using his own money, you know.
Excellent.
And so that, for me, it means somebody who understands the value of money. Now, on the second question, on
disagreement,
money disagreement.
Yeah.
Believe it or not,
I don't think we've ever had.
We don't have money disagreements.
Tell us the secret. Tell us why you don't have money disagreements.
I think we trust each other.
Yeah. So let me tell you, trust is so important when it comes to money. You understand? I mean, trust is so important. My ATM card and all that is with her. You understand? She knows the PIN and all that. I just get the pen, alerts and all those things. And one thing, let me chip this in. When we started working, both of us had, I mean, we're earning so well. Then she said, 5 years into our marriage, that she wanted to start her own business. So I said, no problem. She resigned and all that, not earning a dime. I mean, 3 months into that, I said, Beans, my money is finishing early. What's happening? She said, have you forgotten that I've stopped working? I said, you understand? So we now have to quickly readjust. You understand, in how we were spending and all that. And she would say something that, my friends may want to carry designer bags, but I know where I am at this point. I can't carry it. You understand? I'm not going to be one of the Joneses. And for me,
yes,
because we understood that issue together, we shared the money together. You understand? It was challenging. You understand? We're not earning for a number of years while she was building the business. And even when she wanted to contribute, I said, James, you don't need to do that. You understand? I don't see you less than that. Put that money back into your business. You understand? And we could do it. Then, now I would now know that at some point when her business started to grow, I said, sales were good this month. She said, why? I said, because you bought this thing to the house. You understand? So, but my point is, we never do, and we're very open on all our finances. I remember I'll just end this story. I remember there was a time I was waiting for some large sum of money and all that from work and all that. She would ask, have they paid you that money? I said, no. So on Sunday, I was about to make a transfer for offering in church. She now collected my phone. She paid, and she saw large amount. I said, where did you get this money? I said, oh, they paid me that money on Friday. I said, I have plans for that money now. You know? So we
and very quickly to end this, I think it's important that money is, a lot of times when there is, should I say, when one partner is earning more than the other, we need to be very careful so that money is not used as a tool of control. Because that tends to be because I am earning more than you, therefore you know, I have more say in this relationship, or I have more worth and all that. So when that happens, you know, it's a that's I think it tends to cause disagreements, and it can be really bad thing.
Yeah, thank you for using that language, weapon of control. You know, I think just to add to that, it's very important that we don't take our partners for granted. We need to be considerate of our partners. Yes, Kunle said, you know, when you were building your business, I don't want to put too much pressure on you. But thank God you're Christians. And so first and foremost, you would always check and ask yourself, why would I do this evil thing or do this thing against God? You know you're not sinning against Kunle, so you would always defer to what you should do to please God. But some people would take such situations for granted, and they would over manipulate the other partner. Okay, and we don't. That's what we want to discourage. We don't want that to happen. And you know, with this answer, you've answered one question that I had, and thank you, Dorcas, which was about how did Kunle support you when you were building your business? But you know, we've already heard that. I think we need to go to another question. So we've talked about, Dorcas asked you about financial literacy and teaching your children early, and I do hope the people around the call heard that. Some have children under 5, some have children growing into teenagers and all of that now. Bimbo said, lead and show by example. Let your children know how much, you know, let your children see financial discipline in you. Let them understand the value of money. They don't just go to the, you know, shop rack and pick anything without knowing the price. And you can see the results already in your children, and you are very lucky parents. It can only get better. Now, you're both Christians. I know I talk to people, and I do have a question here that I will ask you right after. Somebody's asking a question. As Christians, we have to give, because there's some that have more than others in the faith, in the church. How do you, what is the word now is, how do you manage giving between the two of you? Giving to charity, how do you manage that? Do you set a budget? Do you check with yourselves before you make a pledge or before you take on the charity case? How do you handle it? And this is a deliberate question, because so the people around the call can learn from your style.
Okay. I want to share. I remember when very early in our relation, I think we had gotten married, and we had. I would give him emotionally, you know, and my husband then my husband would ask me, or I would tell him, and he would swallow whatever was the expression. He would swallow the words before I could see the expression. And I took a cue, and obviously, and I started learning about the importance of, you know, not be emotional when you give, or giving, you know, being structured. The fact that you're giving as a Christian doesn't mean you should be emotional about it. You can be strategic about it as well. And now we don't necessarily do a joint giving, you know, but we are always on the same page in terms of, okay, we're giving to, okay, like his mom's, you know, his mom at the school. Sometimes we support maybe there's an indigent child and all that, the things around that. So we do give, and in church, there are times we give, but we don't necessarily do it together, but we keep each other informed that, oh, this is what I am doing, this is what this person is doing. And of course, if we need to check anything, or check with him, or, you know, we would. As we also said, we don't really have a joint account. We don't really. I think until very recently we didn't have. You
have joint finances. I'm going to write an article on that.
We do joint finances, yeah. And even the joint, should I say, account we now have it because we're working like towards the project. Okay, just put this here, because we're working towards it.
So I agree with everything she said. The only other thing I wanted to add is that if we're going to give, so for every kind of giving like that, we kind of ask each other, this is what I want to do. Sometimes when it's out of the ordinary, giving, the discussion is hard. And one of the things that's happened, we've been married 22 years, we've come to trust each other's judgment a lot. So it means that if you're going to give out of the, ordinary, maybe a large sum for something, there'll be a discussion, but you don't have to explain yourself why you're doing it, because I know you've thought about it and all that. And sometimes when we want to give, we kind of ask questions, question each other. Why do you think you want to do it? Or do you think is that amount good enough for you? Is it too much? You understand? So we have a quick conversation around that, And sometimes it could just be, you know what, it can't happen this month. We're sorry, we can't even do it. So that's it. But one of the things I also encourage people to do sometimes is, because I think we've grown beyond the emotional giving thing, is that if you budget that you're going to give this amount this month, 100,000 and all that, if it's done, then nothing can hit into it anymore, because it means it's going to hit into some other thing. You understand? So, but you don't keep it such solid lines, because sometimes life is flexible. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kunle. Thank you for bringing out the importance of budgeting as a family and as a couple, because that's what you just said. You have a box for charity, for giving. Some months it will be below, some months it will be above. A reasonable flexibility around that, but also be conscious of the box of how much you want to pour into charity in a period. Thank you for sharing your experience. I want you both to please help me answer one question from an attendee here. And I know I see this often because I counsel people. And the question is, if you have a husband that does not like talking about saving and investing together, but likes doing his own thing, how do you handle that?
You have your husband.
Oh, why not?
Well, the question is your partner. One of the things that my platform teaches is I teach people to earn more, to save better, and to invest well. So if you're very conversant with the platform, you would know that I talk about the ESI model a lot. So the question from this person is, this partner does not want to have the money conversation that we're talking about, and he wants to do his own thing. And honestly, things are changing, and there's a difference when there's faith involved. So, Pastor Kunle, I know that when a man is a man of God, how he handles money with his spouse is different from if he's not a believer. That's the truth. So saying my wife knows everything that I earn and all of that is because you're a Christian and you use the word trust. She used the word informed. When you're talking about giving to people in the church, just make sure the other partner is informed. Carry the other partner along. So let's see how can we help this person? What's your idea? How can this go forward?
All right. Ask the question.
I think the question that popped into my head was, does he want her to do her own thing as well?
Okay. So let's read. She says, please, if you have a husband that does not like talking about how to save or invest together, like he likes doing his own thing, and do my saving on my own as well. Yeah. So I do my own saving on my own.
All right. Sometimes we run into dangers, and it's because we are very short-sighted. And that's why people do such things. Now, like I said initially, we are all products of our environment. Now, the husband may have grown up in a family whereby, and I'm just assuming now because I don't have all the information, where it is the daddy that does everything, controls the money, does that. He doesn't even talk about money to any other person. He will forward, give Stu money. You understand? So that's the view that these guys may have. And so it's important that some of these views need to be corrected. Do you understand my point? Now, if it needs to be corrected, you've got to initiate some of these discussions. You understand? And you've got to bring some of these discussions forward. Because if you're expecting to talk about money, it means that you must also be able to talk about it. And in talking about it, you must show some movement. Oh, do you know I got some money in the office today? I don't know. What do you think we should do about it? You know, how do you think we should save this? What projects are we doing? My husband, you know, I think we want to buy a house. We want to do this. We want to do this. How can we save towards this? How can we do? You know, sometimes when and I understand from men want to be in charge as if they are taking the decisions. But when you place it in front of him, I mean, kind of open things up for him, he would start to come out a little more and say, what are we doing about these children? You understand? I know you are planning and all that, but I would be happy if you can let me in on it so that I can contribute my own quota and all that. When you start to talk like that, I think his mindset will start to shift. Then also, you know, little things that you need to do to move people is if things like this, you understand, get him involved in things like this. I remember, and I'm just going to share as an example, when my wife and I got married, both of us like to read, but she really read novels. And I read more in quotes, serious books and all that. But I would say, but why you say leave me alone? That's what I want to read. But one of the things we started to do was open doors slowly. So I would probably read a phrase in a book. I say, Beams, can you read this phrase? This is such an interesting phrase. She reads it. The next time, can you read this paragraph? The next time, can you read this page? And you know, at some point, gave her a book. And at some point, she will say, what are we reading this week? What are we reading this? You know, so you need to understand that people are coming from various background settings, and to break those things down, you can't be aggressive with it. Because if you're aggressive with it, it's that they will freeze, or they will fight, or there will be flight. You understand? So it's important you don't judge them and try and find out what exactly are the issues and begin to slowly, you know, introduce these things. And before you know it, you know, things will open up. As you are opening up, you will see that person also opening up. And by the grace of God, also add prayers, give them other forms of information. And I think over time, you see things change.
I think the key being over time.
Over time.
And the truth is, you may, if the person is on a scale of maybe 1 to 100, if the person is at a 20 now, maybe if the person hits a 60, you should just be satisfied with it instead of looking for 100. You know, so that's what I would say.
Yeah, thank you for that answer, and for bringing out that we come from different backgrounds, and we must be conscious of the differences, the different places we're coming from. I think this is Mrs. Onitiri again. Yeah, she says that our mentality about the whole scenarios resonates with our upbringing and background. And then she says something that I want you to talk about. I know you both, but my friends around the call don't know you as much as I do. And she says competition should never be seen or felt in a healthy marriage. I want you both to talk about that. Competition. Okay, Mrs.
Well, no, I'm even. Competition is such an alien thing because you are one, you know.
Because you have understanding.
When you recognize that you are one.
Because you have that understanding. That's why it's alien.
Same team. Why would
you know, I think I understand the issue. Yeah, I think I understand that question because competition starts to come up in form of and more for the man's perspective. where sometimes your wife is getting really successful, doing quite a bit, you know, and you think your ego, this, how can I be at this stage and my wife is doing this and all that, and you start to think, you know, but you must understand that you know, in a boxing ring, there's a red side and there's a blue side of the ring. And you must understand that both of you are actually on the same side of it. And I'm going to use a scripture that says that the wife is like the crown of the man. So when people see your wife outside, they should be able to ask, who is her husband? You understand? And it is so important. I'll give an example of ours. When Bimbo started her business and all that, she will tell you, maybe you should say it, till today.
My chief marketing officer.
Because I've told her that we've got to build this business so big that I can stop working, come and be your chief strategy officer, and we make it 10 times bigger. You understand? So, because at the end of the day, everything we have is for the consumption of both of us. It's for the growth of both of us, of the family. You know, so that must be in our minds, that my wife is never a competitor. I must never, and if you see it in any part, I mean, you must nip it in the bud
and deal with your insecurities. Whoever it is, and usually it's men to women.
Yeah.
The man must learn to deal with, or the person must learn to deal with their insecurity. You know, remember what I said at the beginning, that this husband doesn't complete you, this wife doesn't complete you. You have to realize that you are a
completing God.
You're completing God. Deal with your insecurities so that you don't feel undermined by the other person's success.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to keep you and the other participants, you know, longer than planned, but I will still have some questions. I don't know, Tosin, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question now? Tosin? Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening. I wanted to ask, Warren Buffett says if your salary is your only source of income and you are one step away from poverty, do you agree with that statement or not?
Yes and no.
Do you mind explaining, please? Sorry.
And the reason is this. Yeah, yes and no. I guess what he's trying to say is that when you have a salary, you know, when you have a salary, you should use it judiciously so that it can open other channels of income for you. You understand? Now, because the MD of Disney World, or some of these guys who have a salary, they earn so much more than the average person. Do you understand? And as a result, they're not poor. You know. So, but I guess what we're trying to say is that when money comes into your hand, don't just say it's here to just meet my needs. There's part of that money that must be invested for your future. You understand? So that you don't become poor. That's my view of that.
Excellent. I like that response, Kunle, because you see, whenever I read this quote by Warren Buffett, I always apply it in the context of the fact that people must have multiple streams of income. But you see, I'm always open to learning. And what you have just brought out is that in addition to my understanding that it is important to have multiple streams of income, you just put a new focus on it for me. The income, the single income that you have, how you managing it. And that's what will take you closer or further away from poverty. So yeah, why Warren Buffett's quote can be interpreted to be that, he expects everybody to have other sources of income, which is what you said, Kunle. The income that you get, how do you turn it into making more money for you? The fact that what comes into your hand, how you handle it, is what will establish or determine how that single income will multiply for you. Thank you. If I've not taken anything away from this conversation today, I've taken that away. That's in addition to that very long quote about feeling and loving and feeling and, Yeah, so people, there's another question I really want people to help us. What's the approach in a marriage or relationship where one partner is very generous and the other partner is very frugal? So it came to me directly. The question came to me directly. It's not in the chat box. So how do you approach when one partner is very generous and the other person is very frugal? And please, when you're responding, please think of me because I'm in that circumstance, so that I can learn.
Okay, so you see, the truth is this: we cannot expect that we will approach money in the same way. I mean, we all have different money personalities. Do you understand? And it is, and the thing is, being very generous, like they said, sometimes your strength is also your weakness. And being very generous doesn't mean it's good, because being very generous means at the end of the day, you may spend money you shouldn't be spending. The other thing is, being very frugal means sometimes money you should spend to make your life easier, to create memories, you understand, that are bigger than the naira and kobo, the value of some of those things. You understand? You should do it. So let me give you an example. Yesterday night, I came back home and I said, Bimbo, I think we should go out and eat. He said, hey, really? He said, let's go out. And my point is, we know what things are now. And she said something that rather than spending that money, I can add that money to something where money I'm meant to give her for something that can add it. But I thought, you know what? We can go and spend 2 hours of our time together, enjoy it. And years down the line, we were still happy about it. Yeah, years about it, we're still happy about it. I still talk about, was it 2 Januaries ago? We just hopped up and said we were traveling together, went on an 8-day vacation. It was to Kenya. It was a lot of money that we could have put in something. But do you realize that till today, every time I always say, oh God, Bimbo, Kenya was beautiful.
The experience. You love the experience.
Yeah, the experience. I've never forgotten it. Sometimes I go through the pictures, I'm like, oh God, I really enjoyed that. You understand? That for me is, so one of the things you need to do is have discussions, do you understand, about these issues and say that, oh.
See, I never passed my thing, so.
Sorry, can you mute yourself?
3.
Please, can you mute yourself? Someone is speaking into.
Yeah, some of the things to do is have discussions. Do you understand? And say, why do you want to spend this money and all that? And sometimes, believe you me, you just have to take a position. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to, sometimes I realize that, when you have 2 different money personalities, because you're husband and wife, you guys complement each other. So if it is harnessed and you guys realize that, okay, this is my strength, this is your strength, you can become a powerhouse when you harness it and draw from the strengths or the good parts of those personalities. So, but you have to be intentional, I would say.
Yeah, and that's what we do. That's what we do, because that's my circumstance. My husband is extremely generous. I'm not a wicked person, you know, but I'm very frugal. I'm very, very frugal. I always refer to the example of when iPhone released the latest version, and every member of the house had upgraded to that new version. And then I got my son to take me to the store like 3 times. I would get into the store, I would look at the new iPhone, I would say the old one is still working. And he looked at me on the 3rd visit and said, I don't like this. It's either you're buying this thing or you're not buying it. Stop stressing me, you know? And I'm very, very cost conscious, you know, but I also believe that we need to balance things out, because there's something the young people say, YOLO, you only live once, or how do they say? So, and that's what I'm saying, let's go out and have dinner. So while you're saving, while you're putting a focus on any more saving and investing, you need to balance life out. And let me finish the story about the phone, because I still wouldn't buy it. And I saw it online, and I sent my son the price, the money in, I think then it was about 1,400 or whatever. I thought it was Canadian dollars, and I sent it to him, and he said, the phone that thing is US dollar, not Canadian dollar. Do you know what? I collected my money back. I said, no, phone, you know, what rubbish, you know. And then it was, I don't know if it was a birthday or a wedding anniversary, and my oldest daughter now was discussing with my sister and said, they were talking about gifts to buy, and she said, there's something, my sister now said, there's something this woman cannot buy for herself. She can afford it, but she's not able to for herself. So in response to Gabriel's question, one party can be frugal while the other one is extremely generous. But Bimbo, you said it, God puts us together for a purpose. I have learned the way the generosity that I might be exhibiting today is not where I was when I met my husband. You know, over time, it will rub. I'm still not like him, you know. I still will not buy myself iPhone until they buy it for me, you know, that kind of thing. but I've learned, and then also even the frugality, there's also value in it for him, because, you know, like you say, at the end of the day, what's the family benefit? So while he is extremely generous on one hand, and I'm very cost conscious on the other hand, we complement ourselves, and we've been able to build a very good a positive force. Now I want people to go away from this conversation, with lessons. So Gabriel, yes, it's okay if one party is like that, but like Bimbo said, it's just making sure that you complement yourselves. Thank you, Joshua. Joshua says the wife is the crown of the husband. True. That's because Pastor Kunle said that in response to the issue of competition. And then Mrs. Funke Ajibade says, competition sets in when the husband feels intimidated by the wife's success. Juliet is very grateful for the response. Somebody is sharing with us, I got inspiration of multiple streams of income from the Bible. Genesis to, I can't say it. Since then, I've keyed into it, and it has been working for me. I can explain. Thank you all for joining. I want to talk about retirement planning. And that's because there are so many young people around the call. Kunle, you're a finance person, you know. You're a big guy. You know the way they say it, big guy in the bank. What do you think? You know, we're not like the Western world where the state forces. Okay, the reforms are beginning to take shape now in Nigeria, and organizations are now planning retirement for, you know, their staff better than it used to be. But what would you like to share with people around the call on planning? I call it for the sunset's golden years.
Okay, so I'll tell you something. I remember many years ago, myself and my parents were in England, and I was in the streets of London with my mom, and she said something. She said, Kunle, for many years, our standard of our income has increased, but we have managed our standard of living.
We have done what? Please say that again.
It says, many years, our income continues to increase, but we have managed our standard of living.
Okay.
That our standard of living has not grown in proportion with our income.
Increase in income. Okay.
He said the reason is this, so that we can have the same level of.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Can you see us?
Yeah, I can see you very well. You're clear. I can see you.
Okay, what do you call it? When
Our laptop
video. Okay, so let's just continue.
Oh, but I can hear you and I can see you.
Yeah, that's fine. So, and she says so that when we retire, we can maintain the same level of standard of living. And I thought, wow, that is such wisdom. And we started to take from that and started to say that, okay, when we retire, how are we going to live? You understand? First of all, is while we are here, we do not do what is more than ourselves. Secondly, and like you said, you need to save towards retirement so that, okay, if you are traveling once a year, now you can continue to travel once a year. For instance, when I look at my parents, I mean, my dad retired 20 years ago, and for every year, he will go on vacation for 1.5 months or 2 months with his wife, you know, with his wife. So, yeah, so they've continued to do that for the last 20 years, you know. So it's so important that you have money saved away or income that will generate this, they will give you the same standard of living right now. Now, I can also understand, and I'm going to say something. Sometimes you may have saved and thought, okay, this should be enough as I'm going here. But see what's happening in the economy right now, where you've probably done some savings and you expect that this should last me if
You're frozen a bit. Wow. Thank you all for joining. The power situation, I'm sure they're going to come back. But while we're at it, I just want to add that talking about retirement planning, it's very important. I can't see you anymore. Are you back?
Yeah, we're back. Yeah, we're back. Yeah.
I can't find you. Are you back with Kunle's handle?
Yeah, we're back. We can. Can you see us? I think
your video is off. Okay, I can see you now. Okay, so I'll put you back on spotlight. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. Please go ahead.
So yeah, so you must save that. For instance, if you're a young person, I think the younger people now who are working are much what do you call it? No. They're luckier because when some people started, there were no pensions and all that. Some of these pensions are there, and in your organization, let me tell you something about this pension thing. There are. Can you hear us?
Yes, you're good. I can hear and I can see.
Yeah.
Please continue speaking. You're frozen, but I can hear your voice.
No, the thing is working.
Hello? Hello? So ladies and gentlemen, I was saying that it's very important to plan towards retirement. You have to focus on it and you have to make deliberate attempt to make sure that you end up where you would like to. And the earlier you start planning for that, the better. But again, if you haven't even thought of it before now, it's still okay. They say when you wake up is your morning. But people that are conscious of retirement take better decisions. They take better money decisions and make better choices. ahead of time. And I do like Pastor Kunle's analogy of his parents, not increasing their expenses or changing their lifestyles in proportion to how their income has increased, so that they can have comfort in their golden years. We're having some connectivity issue with them. Okay, they're back. We will be wrapping up now. I want to ask you, yeah, we've talked about retirement planning. I want to ask you about, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Wow, yeah, somebody, Nona Awo says, you must let your retirement planning start with the first month's pay. Fantastic. Yes, it's always day one. The next best time is now. If you didn't start from when you started working, the next best time is now. You have to be conscious about planning for retirement. Don't let it creep up. And one thing I want to say, I don't know how many people are new around the call, new to the platform, but if you do need help in any form, with either saving better or investing, feel free to send a DM. I say that I have many friends. I have many friends I can always direct questions to if I can't answer them. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, Nona Awo, that the best time to start planning for retirement is with your first month's pay. We are not talking about investment here, but there's something called the power of compounding. So if you do decide on a particular amount that you want to be putting away from your first paycheck, it will surprise you how big it will grow to by the time you're retiring. Thank you very much. I want to wrap this up by asking you both to share one money mistake you've made so that people can learn from your mistake. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'll share mine first.
Okay.
Yes. I had a conversation with you. So, one thing for me, if I could do again, would be to have to continue to be mindful about saving and investing, even when I started my business. But for years, I was so intent on growing this business that I wasn't paying attention to intentionally saving, being more financially savvy. And also for me, that was the money mistake. I'm working on correcting those things now. But that for me, I feel that every entrepreneur, even if you are in the early stages of your business, just find a way to put money aside, intentional, and watch it, money that you will not touch, long-term savings, investment, and watch it grow.
Thank you for sharing that. Kunle?
I think for me, when I look back, I think let me earlier in my days, I was a much more active say investor in say stock markets and all those things. Now, I think one mistake for me that I made would be that sometimes you get burnt on something and just say, oh, I'm not doing it again. One of the things you should do is sit down and say, how do I get how do I understand this better? You understand? And if that's the case, you understand, sometimes I look back, I think it just started making me feel too risk averse on doing something. So that for me was a mistake. And I thought if I could go back, I think I wouldn't be as risk averse as I am now.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So it needs to be balanced out because if you don't take risks, then you can't get returns. Yeah, and thank you so much, Bimbo, for sharing that. And I respect you a lot because entrepreneurs have a lot that, especially in Nigeria, that they fight against in order to be successful. Then when you're a Christian entrepreneur, it's even more difficult because you want to do business ethically and all of that. So For people who have brands like yours, world-known brands, we commend you and we celebrate you. Thank you for sharing that no matter how much you want to grow your business on the side, but also be intentional about saving and investing. We had a conversation, you're right. We had a conversation and you're doing business so right. You're separating personal money and business money and all of that. But you're saying we need to be intentional about saving. We need to be intentional about investing. And at the end of the day, people who are in paid employment are earning active income, what you're working for. But what we want to get to is get to the place where our passive income grows and is much more than our active income. Now, except you even when you're born into a billionaire's family, you still have to make the money grow. You still have to do the right thing so that your money can grow for you. But the objective of the Finance Coach BK platform is to make sure that as many of us as possible get to financial freedom where our money works for us, financial freedom where we can say, oh, I don't want to work anymore, my money will work for me. But listening to both of you, it requires us to be intentional, it requires us to make right choices, and it requires us to learn from our mistakes. Thank you for sharing your money weaknesses without holding back. Kunle said risk. If you don't take risk, you can get returns. And Madam said, I wish I could, or I wish I started saving or focusing on saving and investing earlier. Thank you so very much. We have 30 minutes. We've gone 30 minutes above the one. I knew it was going to be like this. Even the love and the Valentine bit, I had to cut it short. Do you have a parting word or something for people around the call? There are young couples around the call. There are also seniors. I can see some seniors around the call, but I know that there are young people around the call. Just one comment from both of you to wrap it up. And thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you for spending time with us this evening.
Thank you for having us. I would just like to say that, it's a journey, and we must just continue to grow. And as we grow, it gets better. And, it's a marathon. So allow yourself to grow, learn from the mistakes you've made,
the marathon.
Or are making, and from today, strive to do more.
Thank you very, very much. Financial fitness, financial freedom, growing wealth is not a sprint, it's a marathon. We have to do it continuously. Are you sure you're not a finance coach?
I wish.
Thank you so much. Kunle?
I think for me, I'll say 3 words. Learn, learn, learn. When you say whatever you don't know cannot hurt you, it can hurt you. If you don't know something, ask questions, ask people. And these days you'll be shocked. You have so much resources all around you, from people to internet and all that. Just learn, learn, learn. When you learn, ask questions, you will stumble on opportunities, and because you've learned, you will know how to take those opportunities.
Thank you very, very much. I'm very happy to have hosted you both today. And Mrs. Onitiri said it from the beginning that she could see the love, even, from your conversation, the commitments between yourselves. Thank you for what you're doing, the good example that you're giving to the young ones that you're leading in the church. And Madam, for doing business ethically in a difficult world, you know what I mean? We celebrate you, and thank you for spending time with us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen around the call, if you do have questions, please send me an email, and I would answer your questions. And if there's anyone around the call that is trying to start a business, an entrepreneur that needs mentoring from Bimbo, I'm sure she will be happy to do that. Kunle will also be happy to answer any question. If you want to invest with his organization, he's not here representing them, but I'm sure he can guide you very well. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Adora, Adekola, Amaka, Ayeni, Mr. and Mrs. Dami, I hope you had fun joining us today. There's Demi Dada, thank you so much. Dorcas, thank you. Your Honor, Mrs. Famubio, thank you so much. Gabriel, thank you. You joined so early. Idayi Chikezie, thank you for joining us today. Jane George, thank you. Joshua, you are joining from Benin today. Thank you. Juliet, Mrs. Jesuleke, thank you. Maureen David, thank you. Mrs. Ajibade, Dr. Fisayo, my own blood. I hope this is not the first conversation you're joining. It's good to see you. Oluwatosin Makinde, Mrs. Onitiri, thank you so much. Ruth, Stephen George, I hope I took your question. Titi, Tolu, Dikintunji, and Mrs. Tunji Suli, Ujunwa, Njoku, and my own personal person, Yetunde. I hope it's not too cold where you are. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kunle.
Thank you for having me, Miss.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.